I'm only gonna learn from this. I'm only gonna get better. I'm only gonna force Bruce Lee onto my kids someday. Driveby Movies. My name is Blaise.
My name is James.
And never have I ever seen the 1972 Bruce Lee classic, Fist of Fury.
Bruce Lee, the karate kung fu king, delivers the death blow of the Chinese Connection.
Fist of Fury is about a young man who seeks the vengeance of the death of his teacher. This is my first Bruce Lee movie I believe I've ever seen. I have seen clips of Enter the Dragon, and I remember seeing a movie directed by Rob Cohen about the life of Bruce Lee as well too. I remember enjoying the hell out of that movie as a kid and always found him interesting and stuff, but just sadly I've never gotten around to watching any of his movies. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of piqued my interest in wanting to check out some Bruce Lee movies. But Blaise, it was your pick for Never Have I Ever this week. How did we get to Fist of Fury?
So I have a long history with Bruce Lee. I remember back at the video store days, I would always go there, and every Friday or every weekend or whatever, and I could pick out a movie. My dad'd say, oh, hey, go pick out whatever you want. Obviously, whatever you want was limited to whatever was $1 though. Like, it's not like I could, it's the, like, new releases, kiss that goodbye. There was no chance I was seeing anything with the actor that wasn't pre-80s, you know?
Right.
Like, I had to pick all stuff that was super old. But I found my way around that for the most part. I fought off Bruce Lee with a stick, maybe some nunchucks. I don't know. I fought off Bruce Lee movies. My dad would always be like, no, you got to check out Bruce Lee. Like, that's what you got to check out. You grew up on Kung Fu movies, obviously. But me, I was like, nah, I'm gonna, spread my wings and fly with Jackie Chan. Like, that was my guy. I would rent every Jackie Chan movie because they were from the 90s. And when you're that age, you're very stubborn. It's like you don't want to eat your vegetables and you're just there and you're like, oh, I only want to pick something that's new. Oh, I don't like black and white. You have all these like stupid ideas about who you are and what you like, but without ever actually experiencing anything. So this is my first Bruce Lee movie, Fist of Fury, and I really enjoyed it. I'm sad to say that, back when I was a kid, I never took that chance, followed in my father's footsteps and grabbed that tape off of the display. But I always grabbed Jackie Chan movies. So I did have some respect for the Kung Fu movies and action movies of Hong Kong cinema, but I never did watch a Bruce Lee movie until now. So I'm a little disappointed in myself, of course, but, I'm only going to learn from this. I'm only going to get better. I'm only going to force Bruce Lee onto my kids someday.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy to see like how influential he was and stuff. And like, kind of got that vibe from like, Quentin Tarantino, like being so inspired. Like, I know that like it's a separate movie, but with his yellow outfit in one of his other movies though. And then using that for like the inspiration for Kill Bill. And then also using him as a like one of, like just an interesting character for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like we brought up earlier. But yeah, like some of the action sequences with this though are like fantastic and stuff, and like crazy to see that he did a lot of his own stunts too. And speaking of though, one of your other favorite stunt people though, Jackie Chan, like you brought up, is in this movie too.
Makes a brief appearance. I honestly didn't recognize him until I read the trivia for this movie. So he does make a brief appearance. It is cool that like obviously that's one of his heroes, and it's awesome to see like later on you see Chuck Norris even in a lot of Bruce Lee movies. So there's a lot of interwebbing between a lot of these action stars, especially in that Hong Kong cinema. So something I obviously enjoyed was just that camaraderie they had between a lot of the stuntmen and in being in each other's movies, and I really enjoyed this movie for the most part. Like seeing Bruce Lee kind of like at the top of his game. You know, this is 1972, so he's really up there with a lot of these nunchuck scenes are absolutely insane. I don't have that much history, I guess, with Bruce Lee in the sense that I hadn't seen any of his films before this. But obviously, there's those famous like videos of that little kid who's like memorized all the like nunchuck scenes. So I had to like rewatch that because I was just like, that's hilarious. Like he was so obsessed with Bruce Lee. If only I could be that kid at one point in time. Obviously, I wasn't. I never picked up the nunchucks or memorized any of these scenes or even knew who Bruce Lee was entirely just, you know, by watching any of his movies. But that's a story for another day.
Was this one of the main ones that you wanted to check out, though? Like, you know, like I know that you wanted to give a Bruce Lee movie a shot, like after your dad kept recommending him and stuff. But like, what are the other classics that would we be watching if it were for, you know, us to check out more Bruce Lee movies? Also, audience members, leave a comment letting us know which ones we should check out too.
Obviously, Enter the Dragon. I thought I wanted to watch something else before, though. I definitely do want to watch that at some point in time soon, probably. But just didn't want to do that one on the show because I'm sure enough people have covered that here on YouTube. But one of the other ones I did want to check out was Game of Death because that famous kind of yellow outfit that's, you know, homage in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill.
Right.
But I
which is a movie I have seen, so yeah. Yeah,
and I originally picked that movie out to do for this one, but that movie was kind of, I don't know if it's like, I kind of think it's BS that like basically that movie was an unfinished Bruce Lee film made before his death, obviously, and the producers purchased the footage and kind of recreated a movie. Even like there's a lot of scenes where he's not in it and he's had cosmetic surgery and his face is kind of fatigued to where they had another actor play him. That just seems so BS to me that I was like, I don't want that to be my first Bruce Lee experience. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of really cool scenes in that movie, and I'm sure the movie still probably stands on its own. Yeah. But I just didn't want to watch that as my first kind of experience.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, I'm glad you picked this one then and stuff, though, and I hope it like held up for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed it. I think if anyone is looking to watch like a Bruce Lee movie, I think this is where I chose to start. I feel like it's probably a good place to start, but you might want to consult your nearest dad to figure out.
Any scene that stood out the most, though, to you for the most part?
Honestly, it's going to be a scene that a lot of people wouldn't really expect. It's not really an action scene, but it's the scene where he's, you know, dressed in this crazy white suit. He's attending the funeral of his master. And you get to see a side of Bruce Lee that you don't generally see, which is his acting chops. He's very distraught. It kind of sets all the pegs in motion for this film because this is a revenge movie, and it kind of sets him to being really upset that his master is dead, and he kind of starts thinking, hey, not everything is really adding up here. I think that my master might have got set up or killed, possibly murdered. And, you know, it's not as what people are saying that he just died. So that was honestly one of my favorite scenes in the movie. If you want to go for action scenes, obviously those scenes where he's fighting people with nunchucks, he even takes out somebody with a sword, which is an unrealistic fight scene, he even said himself. So there's a lot to like in this movie, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, definitely, like, you know, like as we said, like, what are the other Bruce Lee movies that we should check out? So leave a comment letting us know. And if you haven't seen the movie, though, a great way to help support the show is by watching it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. Be sure to do that and come back here and let us know what you thought.
Anyways, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button, click the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
If you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, we're also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Be sure to check us out on all those apps there. Anyways, guys, that's going to conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.